Thank you all for coming today, family and friends, to celebrate my husband, Jenkin, or Jinx as he was better known. Everybody can hear me? Okay. Christy, Graham, and I thank you for the outpouring of messages and support. I knew that Jinx was a rock star, but I didn't realize he was a superstar. While this is a very sad occasion, Jinx would have wanted us to share a few laughs at his expense. There are tissues on the tables for tears of sadness, but hopefully of laughter as well. We want to celebrate his life. Because Jinx had such a wide circle of friends, we've asked everyone to wear a name tag, but we haven't actually done that part. So if you get a chance, if you could put a name tag on with how you knew Jinx, because he knew people from so many different areas. We hope that this helps people to make connections so that we can practice using Jinx's special powers. Attending today, there are childhood friends, all the way back to Strathcona Elementary, Templeton High School, work colleagues, sports friends, neighbors, painting customers, my friends, as well as immediate and extended family. I would first like to especially thank our out-of-town guests who have taken time out to travel here. Firstly, our daughter Christy and son-in-law Ryan from Rossland, BC. Our son Graham from Byron Bay, Australia. Cousin Annie Lee from Baltimore, Maryland. Sister Linda Ing from Bellingham. Where's Linda? And niece Donna Ing and her family from Seattle. Nephew Tony Ing from Seattle. My nephew Parker Ma from Montreal. And our very good friends, the Christie family, Marianne, Gord, Jennifer, Sean, and Hope from Vancouver Island. My husband was a very unique person. He was someone who was very comfortable in his own skin. He had no pretensions, no need to impress anyone. He was just who he was, a kind, gentle, genuine person, always with a twinkle in his eye. He treated everyone the same, whether you were a school buddy or a doctor or the mayor of Vancouver. Speaking of which, we have a former mayor of Vancouver in the crowd. Shout out to Sam Sullivan. Where's Sam? Jinx would just crack a joke and the ice would immediately be broken. I would often marvel at his ability to do this. Jinx was not a materialistic person. He valued people over things, with one exception. He loved his tool collection. He would often get phone calls from his family and friends asking to borrow something. He was always more than happy to rummage through his cluttered workshop. I always thought it was like finding a needle in a haystack, but somehow he knew where everything was. It was like winning the lottery for him if he could help someone by finding the right tool. He loved recycling things. He was always bringing things home, bringing items home from people who didn't want them from his painting jobs. Some items were prizes, but many just created work for me because I had to figure out how to get rid of them. For example, the bright orange 70s rowing machine, which sat like an albatross in the middle of the basement. Thank you to Kevin Jantz for taking that. Where's Kevin? Kevin. From his frugal upbringing, he always saw potential value in these old things. More often, he thought of people he wanted to give them to. Only thing is, they didn't want them. What he did collect, for sure, were friends. He had friends dating back to kindergarten. When we were out and about, he was constantly running into people he knew, and they always greeted him with such enthusiasm as a long-lost friend. And he had so many friends, as we can see from this room. Everywhere we went, we would run into someone, the shopping mall, grocery stores, restaurants. Probably 50% of the time we were out for a family dinner, Jinx would spend time at another table, chatting with people he knew. We all kind of got used to it. Someone would say, "Where's Jinx?" We'd say, "Over there." Once we were in Penticton at a dark, smoky nightclub back in the day, and someone calls out, "Jinx!" Another time we were in the middle of China. No kidding, we were in Kunming, China, 1987, and in some waiting area. And who does he run into? His friend Wallace's mom. "Mrs. Young," he says. "Wallace, raise your hand." Another funny story. When we first met, I brought him to a party at my good friend Lynn's place in East Vancouver. Lynn, where are you? I start to introduce Jinx to their family. Jinx and Lynn's dad take one look at each other and immediately recognize each other. Jinx points at Joe and says, "2 toast and a black coffee." Joe had been a regular at the Leonardy Cafe, where Jinx had worked for many years at his grandfather's restaurant. The room was roaring with laughter. Clearly, Jinx needed no introduction. Oh, and how he loved to chat about the old days with these friends. I had to develop a strategy. I would sit him on a bench while I did my shopping. When I returned, I would ask him, "Did you see anyone?" Invariably, he'd say, "Yeah, I saw so-and-so and so-and-so." This always made him happy. And if he didn't see anyone, he knew he would just turn around and make some new friends by talking to random strangers. He was just a very open, friendly person, and people always responded to that. Jinx had several careers throughout his life. He started out as a postie, which he did for 13 years, mostly in the Deep Cove area. He got to know all the households in the route, and he was a hard act to follow when he left. Then in the 80s, he became a realtor with A.E. LePage, then Multiple Realty, and this he did from 82 to 99. We have some realtors in the crowd. This was the period where he actually had to iron his shirts. I'll never forget the time he took off his jacket and I burst out laughing. He had only ironed the front. The sleeves and the back of the shirt were all wrinkled. He said, "I was in a hurry." When Christy and Graham were born in 1990 and 94, he was very involved in parenting them with me. In fact, he was Mr. Mom for a few years when he was in between careers. His last career for the past 22 years was house painter extraordinaire. Many of his customers loved his company and became his friends. Who in this room has had painting done by Jinx? Show of hands. Look at you all. Jinx finally had to retire after his heart attack in February of 2023. His health was declining and he was not allowed to do strenuous work. He had seven different doctors looking after him, so we had many medical appointments. He never complained about all the poking and prodding, questions and blood tests. He always was cheerful and friendly with the healthcare staff, never missing an opportunity to crack a joke and try to get a laugh. Despite limited mobility and low energy levels, he always maintained a positive outlook. At first, he didn't know what to do with himself, but learned to make the best of his time by catching up with friends, going out for lunch with his buddies, dinner with family and friends, and chatting on the phone. When he had the energy, I would suggest he go out for a walk so he could find some neighbors or neighborhood dogs to visit with. Usually he did. In conclusion, Jinx lived by his own rules, and these rules were to work hard, to be kind to others, love your family, and always cheer people up. All of his family will miss him greatly. Thank you very much.